A groovy kind of thing. Well, hello there, everyone. How you doing? Well, it is Tuesday and coming to you just a few minutes early because where I live, right next to the mountains, and all of you, Franny, I know you're up in Boulder Way, and I know we got a few others here. Got some big boomers building up out there. I mean, someone's going to get spanked today. Anyway, hello everyone. How are you? So good to see you. May I just invoke favor upon you this day, supernatural favor of that kind that when it hits you, that you know it is not natural. And may there be abundant prosperity, full restoration, nothing missing, nothing broken in your life. So, hello, Josh. How the heck are you? Well, so good to see you. There's Franny, Rachel, Renee. Hello, Lois. How are you doing? Warrior Queen, Lost in Space. Hello, Barry. Good to see you. Freeman. Good gracious. Paul, good to see you. Hey, Joe Sapien, how are you? Invincible. If you're not like that, think agape love. That's pretty groovy. I really like that. Legend Real, good to see you. Sean, how the heck are you? Heidi, good to see you. Karen Steele, good to see you. And wow, just everyone. Monday Moon, good to see you. 7P, peace to you. Emperor, good to see you. So how the heck are you? It is just a phenomenal day. I got to tell you, the energy for me is just out of sight, just loving it. So, they say that the pendulum, if you study hermetics, you really begin to see, since we're in this duality, as Trina and I spoke about yesterday, which I thought was just a phenomenal program, so much great information. I mean, I like to get a coffee house that would be big enough for all of us, and those of us who don't drink coffee, we can have tea, or any other type of libation you would care to indulge in and just talk. And so the point is this: if your life has seemed to be with a pendulum, seem to be stuck in one direction, well, here's the good thing. When you become aware of that, you kind of like unlock that. And so, because nature will always seek a balance. That's the thing I had to learn myself, was that nature, however you want to define nature, is, hey, Richard, good to see you, finds a balance. And when it gets out of balance, well, cause and effect comes into it, the whole thing of correspondence. But I sense that the pendulum was always going to swing back in your favor. That's why I say nothing missing, nothing broken. That means may the very ground you walk on be to your favor, produce. Your barns and your storehouses. Today, that's your bank account, savings account. Many people don't have savings accounts. And we've got to reverse that. And I think that this is why I have a problem with karma. I really do. It's like, now, wait a minute. Everyone talks about this karmatic thing, and I'm going, well, then there must be a lot of assholes coming through, because I see a lot of hurting people. And if that's how you take this karma thing, then that implies that, they're either paying for or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I think pain sucks. I get the idea that there has to be struggle. I get that. A challenge, fine. But, the playing field at least ought to be level. And unfortunately, it's not. So my t-shirt today, just so everyone can see what it is, we're talking about some interesting things going on. My good friend Jeff over there on the Christian Whistleblower, who comes on every day at noon Central. I sent this story to him because it just literally came out. So this is from The Verge. Two different stories about what's taking place with YouTube. Now, I don't know what supremacist content they're talking about. I mean, I don't get into that. Not a part of that. You know. So, but the problem is that the community guidelines, I have said all along, are ambiguous in how they're enforced. And we, all of us YouTube creators, we've seen the algorithms have been adjusted. My channel is a good example of that. I keep the stats. And in 2018, this channel was growing at average about 1,800 new subscribers a month. Today, that number is, are you ready for this? Less than 18. Now, and then the views, they were averaging about 15,000 views a day. They're now down to less than 4,000. Haven't done anything different, haven't changed anything. And, you know, I began to suspect something. I help write programs. And so, you know, Jeff's seen the same thing. Other channels have seen it. And now, you know, I guess in this sweeping reform, this is what it gets. So the first one is supremacists removing Nazis and other extremists who advocate segregation, exclusion based on age, gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, veteran status. There's a caste system. It's weird. So basically, the truther community, for instance, here, if you're basically one of the channels that deny the whole Sandy Hook thing, well, guess what? You become on the naughty list. Second, YouTube is going to expand, reduce the spread of what it calls borderline content and harmful misinformation. And this is really interesting. The policy, which applies to videos that flirt with violating the community guidelines, but ultimately falls short, aims to limit the promotion of those videos through recommendations. YouTube said the policy, which affects videos including flat earthers and peddlers of phony miracle cures, had already decreased the number of views that borderline videos receive by 50%. In the future, the company said it will recommend videos from authoritative sources like top news channels in its next to watch panel. Wow. I don't know what that means. I mean, so you can't have a intelligent conversation with adults. This is the thought police, folks. That's what this is. Finally, YouTube said it would restrict channels from monetizing their videos if they are found to repeatedly brush up against our hate speech policies. Those channels will not be able to run ads or use Super Chat, which lets channel subscribers pay creators directly for extra chat features. Well, there you go. You know, For what it's worth. I don't know. I don't understand it. And then the story is also as well in the New York Times. So, this is something that obviously is noteworthy. It's going to affect a lot of people. It's certainly, I think, going to affect this whole thing of, I don't know, what people can actually say, do. I don't know. It's, I get a lot of pushback, because I teach magic, philosophy is what it really is. But yeah, no, I guess the world's not ready for magic, folks, but we are. And that's what counts. So the thumbs up, hey, keep doing it. It's a thing. And I'll let everyone know there are two other websites that they did this on their own, and I appreciate it, that archive every video I've ever done. So, and again, I'm on Thursday night over on the American First Radio.com network. It's the reason why I'm there. It's, you can still go there and have an, conversation with a friend. Ay, 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 what is going on? All right, so let's get to some positive news here. Folks, I'm getting testimonies. There you go, Franny. I love it. Now I can't text and drive, Franny, at the same time, but I'll read that. Philosophy is quite literally questioning the reality we take for granted. How the hell can that be regulated? I don't know. It's the thought police. And it's really cool because the shirt goes all the way down with, talks about, they're here. Ay, ay, ay. Anyway, testimonies. Josh, consciously aware, just sent me, this stuff works, folks. He's a believer. Al is another one. David is another one. There are testimonies coming in. What all can be said is fortunate circumstances now turning to their favor. And sigils have a lot to do with this, folks. Let me tell you, it does. And far out. I just say far out. That's what it's all about. We had a delightful chat prior to this morning, in fact, and you can go back and look at it if you want. And, it was a good. You see, these are the type of things that I think often about what Ephesus must have been like. Many of the cities in what is modern day Turkey, what was called the Silk Road. And Ephesus was one of those cosmopolitan places right around 100 BC up until about 100 AD, or shall we say CE. So here's what's really, I would love to have. In today's climate, you couldn't do it. We're not enlightened enough as a society. Regrettably, we have regressed. But back in that day, you could come down into the city square, and every city had an amphitheater where philosophers would come, religious orators, even bureaucrats would come, and you could have a discussion on topics that many of the topics that we cover here, many that apparently YouTube didn't like. Now, I want to say this, they were flagging like every video that I was doing. I don't see that anymore. So I don't know. Who knows? But I can only imagine how it must have been like. Can you imagine? You're in basically which would be an international trading route. A lot of magi's. It had to be a fascinating time. We know from the Liber Lilith, the study that we did, that book was probably taught I don't know if it was taught out into the open, but no doubt it was discussed in what I would sure would be the corners off to that. So, and by the way, we're going to get into something. I just literally got this from Amazon Prime. Shameless plug for them, right? Like they need it. This is really a cool book. I got this because they actually are in the color. So check it out, folks. This is what it's all about. We're going to get into it and let me just stop yakking and get into it. So let's get into our affirmations first. Powerful stuff. I mean, we're in getting close to, next week will be day 28, I believe, if I am correct on that. Maybe day 21. I'll make sure on that. Someone will correct me, I'm sure. Thank you very much. I always love being corrected. It's like, hey, here I am. Go ahead. We're acknowledging from this day forward, and we had a discussion about God. So, you can strike that word out. I don't like the word either. I mean, there is a point in time where clarity has to come in, and God is very ambiguous. It's designed that way. So whatever you want to fill in the blank, source, divine creator, infinite being, there is something that is greater than all of us. At least I believe that's what most of us hope for. And pardon the pun, God help us if there's not. Oh, come on, Steiger. Well, wise guy. All right, so let me continue. As my only source of my needs, by supplying my needs and meeting all of my physical and spiritual needs. And I only need to be conscious and aware of that fact. Well, all right, so whoever you want to put there, infinite being, infinite whatever, is lavish and limitless within me, and the spirit within is the source of all of my needs, flows with abundance, is my supply, is unlimited, eternal, meets all of my needs. It restores me. It is part of the infinite source, and it gives thanks to infinite source. I acknowledge the divine and infinite being, source of all my residing and all that's residing within me as the only true source of my prosperity, restoration, care, intervention. I don't have a problem with that. And total fulfillment to be of the spirit within the physical and mental bodies. Blessed be the creator and mercy for us. Now, we talked about the ones that could be updated actually has the sigil. And I hope you're saying this. I hope this is starting to get into you. I know got a couple of cool emails. Every word that goes forth out of my mouth shall not return unto me void without producing any effect, but it shall accomplish that which I please and purpose, and it shall prosper. I love that word. In the thing for which I sent it forth. There is a word, favor, also means empowered to prosper. I think that is so freaking cool. It's one of my mantras that I go to meditation with, go to sleep. And when you think about it, when you put I am empowered to prosper. Hey, don't tell me that ain't cool. Listen, got a letter from source. So let me get this out. This one is, let me have a sip of tea. Everyone, have your libation, whatever it is. Beer, coffee, tea, whatever. Good morning, all of you wonderful children. Today, we just want to bring you a message to try to clear up some questions that some of you have and clarify some of the messages that we have brought you in the past. We have told you that your reality is your reality and that of no one else other than you. So why are so many of you trying to get others to see your point of view? No one will ever be able to see anything from your point of view. Your point of view is exactly that, your point of view. And their point of view is their point of view. Since you and another cannot occupy the same space and time. We have talked about that. I'm going to digress from the message here, source, but I feel inclined to put this out. The reality is the atom, the quantum. You and I can't occupy the same space, nor the same time. It's an illusion that we get lulled into. You know, we used to use the thing back in the day called real time in the video industry, real time. And the early days of the internet when I was part of the B2B, how we, the e-commerce thing nearly 2 decades ago. And real time. Real time is a different time for all of our times based upon what our point of view is. It's weird, I know. All right, let me continue. Then you can never have the same point of view. Even if you were to try and explain yourself to someone in every possible detail that you could not replicate the same energy of what you experienced. You cannot put them in the same mood, the same state of mind, the same vibration that you were in. There are no two of you that will ever have the same experience. So why are you trying to get others to experience what you experience? Those experiences are yours and only yours. No one else will ever experience them. No one else will ever understand them the way that you do. No one else will react to them the same way that you do. They are yours. When other people try to get you to see their point of view, just accept it as their point of view. Don't argue with them that they are wrong. Don't tell them that they have no idea what they are talking about. Because guess what? Just because you don't see it the way they do, doesn't make it any less true than what you believe. To them, and to what they have experienced, it is their current truth. I love that. Current truth. Truth is ever evolving. This is the same for everything that is around you. Your education, your government, your languages. They are all points of views of others. Can you accept their truths as your truths? Sure you can. That is your choice. However, don't try and make them accept your truth as their own. If what you say feels right to them, then that will become their truth. You do not have to work at this. You plant the seed, it will grow. If it does not grow, then this is not supposed to be the truth for them. I love this. Remember, you are all one. You are all working towards the same goal. Each of you is to learn everything that you can for yourself, to experience all that you can through what you were given. You are not put here to try and live the lives of others. Do not covet thy neighbor's belongings, nor their lives. Live your own lives. Be your own person. Don't let others control you and who you are. Don't try to control others and who they are. Apparently, Joshua needed to listen to this, and he wrote me and said, yeah, he apparently had to be taken out to the woodshed. We all do. Joshua had need to listen to that last one there. Let your children be themselves. They will turn out just the way they are supposed to. Who cares if people look at you funny? Who cares if others get annoyed by your kids? They are supposed to be, they're supposed to, it is part of the life experience that they need to learn how to deal with. Stop being so critical of them. Boy, if I can just say one thing, folks, so often words, and this is commentary of mine. I was a person that I know what physical abuse was, broken bones type of physical abuse. But you know what? That paled in comparison to the pain of the words of that parental figure. There's a proverb that says, you can break the rod over the butt of the child. So I'm just paraphrasing that, but don't break their spirits. Words are the only things that breaks people's spirits. Let me continue on with them. Teach them, let's see. Don't teach them to do as they are told. Figure out how to teach them to care about everything that they do and experience, and the rest will start to fall into place. Teach them how to love, not fear. You have started doing this, my child. You just need to be more conscious of your actions and stop letting yourself fall back into the old energy. Let them be them. Don't punish them for being who they are. You won't change them. You will just suppress them. Don't do that. Sorry about that, children. Joshua needed to hear that. I think others needed to hear that as well. His children have been testing him quite a bit, and he hasn't been getting our message that we have been trying to tell him, so we decided to take another direct approach. Well, source, I think it was meant for others as well. Children, the message that we are trying to get through to you is this. Please be yourself. Believe what is right to you and let others be themselves and believe what they want to believe. None of you are right. None of you are wrong. Everything is one and in the same. The only difference is the way it is perceived. If everyone were the same, believed in the same things, did everything the same way, then what purpose would life have for you or anyone else? That would be hell, literally. You would simply be in a factory full of machines doing the exact same thing over and over again. You are all amazing human beings with amazing abilities. Each of you are so much greater than you will ever realize in this reality. The moment that you truly realize and accept that you really are, and accept what you really are is the moment you move into the next reality. The next time you have the opportunity, think about it. Though it will be a sad time for you when someone is approaching their time to pass, really pay attention to them. Pay attention to the natural cycle that they go through. Shall we say, we all shall go through? You should notice that the ones that were struggling in life, not knowing where to turn, not knowing what they really believed in, stick around a bit longer. They are forced to find the inner peace before they go. The ones that have that inner peace already, well, they just say, okay, it's time. They close their eyes and they're gone home. Children, let everyone live their life the way that makes them happy. Don't try to make them live a life that you think is best for them. We love you all, and we will speak again to you soon, Source. Love you, Source. Absolutely love you, baby. Folks, I don't know about you, but that's just far out. That's just, wow. I mean, wow. What can you say? That is so freaking cool. Wow. Got to sit and let that absorb. Someone asked me, where do I think that these letters come from? Source. Obviously, a much greater intelligence than mine. So, however it gets here, it's enlightening to me. And anyway, hey, Julie in Australia, down there in Queensland, just wanted to give Julie a shout out. Got a lot of people in Australia and Queensland and that listen. So, all right. Want to get into some other things here. I got so much here. Where do I want to go first? All right, 30 minutes. Let's do this. I didn't get to finish on Tuesday on talking about the angelic alphabet, sigils. Now, I had someone write and said, could I go at this very slow? I have these slides if you want them. I'll try to see what I can do to actually send the PowerPoint presentation. But anyway, check out the sigils. So now this is the angelic or the celestial alphabet. Sigils, folks. And a lot of this will resonate with you psychically. It's designed to. It's from a higher source. You know, our Phoenician alphabet is a bastardization of what I would call the true languages. I believe probably the last true language would have been classical Greek, or so I'm told. So now, as you begin to study more of the angels, demons, however you want to see this, you can begin to see how the phonetics of the alphabet become translated. Now, this is fairly interesting when you look at this. This is really weird. I know this is strange. This is truly the matrix. This is what we would call, I guess what you would call angelic code in our computer code. Wild, isn't it? This is a new phenomenon. I think that this actually started decades ago, where apparently higher intelligences were sending to receivers here how to begin to interpret their language. I mean, you think about it. I've heard this from a lot of bilingual, trilingual people. English is a very difficult language in its composition and the way that it's actually constructed. So if you get into what I call sigil symbology, you can begin to get into how other languages are actually developed. It becomes very simple in how you can begin to see sigils, which are made up of shapes that become symbols, which all represent thought. It's quite fascinating. This is reported to be what was on the Roswell craft. And if you stare at this long enough, I say, and this is just me, Mathematics is universal, regardless of level of intelligence, and that basic shapes are transmutable into different consciousness. Does that make sense? And you can begin to see how much more complex languages become what we would call sigils, glyphs, mini crop circles. There are developers now that have developed complete, it's just sigils. It's sigil, glyph symbology of new alphabets. It's quite amazing. Now, when you begin to compare this to the ancient Mesopotamian, which later became Hebraic, and we go from there. This is, of course, dealing with angel worship. Each one is assigned to a day. Each one has technically rule of that day. Of course, that's taking that the day is 7 days a week. The whole theory on that one. But now you can see in the middle row, how the sigils, they're exactly that. They're actually, I would say, more automatic writing, freehand. You should learn to, I think Al and I were conversing earlier, that cursive, think about it. Everyone can do automatic writing. Every holy book ever supposedly given to man was written by two things, either by download telepathically or automatic writing. Think about that. All right. Here's someone asked me to put this up. So this is the alphabet, the du passage du levis. So again, notice the similarity between these ancient glyphs, sigils, and to that which was reported by E.T. Are we seeing one and the same? I can tell you yesterday, it was a wonderful experience. I mean, you get into that flow and it really begins to kind of happen kind of automatically. This is the draconic script. It really affords I think the expanding of the awareness of that so much around us. Again, as I said yesterday with Trina, that we live in a world of magic. Sigils every freaking where. Powerful ones. And when you begin to understand the basics, that's why I got this book here, it give you an idea. It actually goes with the jinn, how you can get that going. I'll show more of that later. But so you can see how these then become powerful portals. It is said that once you utter the name, and particularly 3 times, that sets a vibration. And as you become more versed into sigil magic, your own sigil magic, you begin to see how you can make your own talisman. We're going to get into that real quick, but this is how that is done. And you can begin to understand that this wasn't done haphazardly. When I look and study a lot of these, ancient sigil text, that's what I term it as, there's just something you connect with. I mean, it's like, it looks somewhat familiar. And if in fact that this is a language that of a higher intelligence has shown to mortal men, well, you have to begin to understand then how you can take the glyphs, the symbologies, and trace them back into what I would call sigilology. And I believe that is actually a word. And then you begin to see how magicians, sorcerers, witches, how they can begin to literally create their own alphabet. Quite frankly, in the book that I'm just about to finish, this is a fascinating read, folks. It really is. That when you get to that point to make your own alphabet, your own sigil alphabet, well, you'll never go without another day of the rest of your existence. This apparently carries over. And now we can begin, when you look at ancient cuneiform, whether it be Sumerian, Chaldean, you can begin to understand, you can almost begin to start learning how to read Sanskrit. You really can. But here again, going with the angel worship, as you can see, the spear of the prime mover, spear of the zodiac, the first two up there, and then the rest of them, you can see how the sigils, even in your own magic, you can use, if you're inclined to engage these entities, you literally can take those symbols, those sigils, and incorporate it into your own. Powerful, powerful magic on that side. And as you can see, this is exactly what's been done here. And again, I'm not into the Hebrew God, so I got a problem with this. I know what Adonai is, I know what Yahweh is, I know the different names, but now get into more of astrology. You can incorporate these sigils into your own sigil magic. It's there. We'll be studying this. In fact, we'll be studying it today. But I just wanted to show you how your subconscious, your unconscious, I guess I could say too, knows particularly where your tribe originates from. So this is shows you how now today Wiccan, how you can begin to take the symbols and incorporate this again into your own sigil making. It's powerful. We won't get into this. This just gets into how the angels, how the structures are. We will get into this into a later time. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty far out because it actually begins to explain the hierarchy of all of this. So I hope that helped some of you in context of what we're actually dealing with here. And like I said, I think what Source's letter today just so nailed it. You don't have to accept this. It doesn't really matter. We're here learning. This is actually a classroom. We just happen to love each other here. It's a great community. And I thank you, all the moderators. Maria, Truth Seeker, Cheesesteak, Warrior Queen, Mother Nature, good to see you. Mwah. Brandy, good to see you, all of you. And there's a bunch of us in here. But yeah, I think this is pretty cool stuff. I mean, I endeavored to what I do is to be able to condense it down for you, to take this. There's some of those books that it's like, I don't know. It's like eating, you ever eaten oyster crackers and didn't have anything to, how shall we say, swallow it with? Yeah, that's about what they're, or like eating a green persimmon. But anyway, so I try to condense it down. Now, I wanted to get into something that I didn't get to expand on, and let's finish this. This is actually, now I actually have this. This is the Dictionary of Ancient Magic Words and Spells. I'm going to go through this real quick. Words that possess a power. From abracadabra to avada kedavra to renovrata, used in the Harry Potters, and I probably butchered that one, Potter books. I was never one into Harry Potters. Anyway, everyone has become familiar with magic words. Although all through novels, films, comic books can provide only a simplified, distorted version of them, shouted, whispered, chanted, recited, or muted by a magician, sorcerer, or witch, using peculiar, even incomprehensible words to obtain supernatural effects. These perpetually evolving spells come down to us from the dawn of time. Thanks to the efforts of the scholars from the variety of disciplines, we now have a corpus consisting of tens of thousands of accounts at our disposal. These phrases can be found in charms from the Latin carmen, meaning song. Hello. Someone was writing to me about Carmen. Isn't that interesting? Orisons, blessings, congregations, and medical prescriptions. Orisons are magical prayers that conceal their true nature behind a Christian exterior, most often through references to Jesus, Mary, the evangelists, and so on. Blessings can be pagan or Christian, but either way, they share the same structure. They are used to summon good fortune on an individual. They are the opposite of curses. Conjurations are used to summon supernatural beings whose assistance is required, as well as to perform the exorcisms necessary to banish the malevolent entities embodied in misfortunes. I mean, if you believe in misfortunes and say, my life has been, well, then there's a good bet that there's probably a spiritual issue. One that may be even adding to that, I don't know. These entities are most often encountered in remote solitude and deserted regions where men rarely travel. As for the short notes, still known today as the briefs in France, they are most often found on amulets of parchment or paper that contain kabbalistic phrases that have been encrypted through the use of characters known as Solomonic writing, Ephesian letters, or unknown scripts. All these strange signs are called characters. In Latin, a term I will use to avoid creating any confusion. A scholar wrote about these Ephesian literate in 1717. They plunge the soul of those who hear them into terror. Hebrew letters were also used because, according to the pseudo-Ardalus de Vallanoa, they were the most effective. Folks, if you don't turn it on Sundays when Jeff and I get in our show, this is powerful. It shows how that book, what it was designed to do. Goes on to say, but St. Jerome had already spoken in his own time about magicians who used every means to impress their customers. The less these customers understood, the more they found admirable. And talk about Jerome, that moron was the one who caused more confusion with the word Lucifer. Never existed until this cat literally inserted. So I'm going to stop right there because I want to continue on. But as you can see, words, alphabets, languages that have been inserted into ours, and just because you don't believe it, just because you don't think that this is true, the evidence says differently. The evidence says that this was purposely put together to, number one, invoke fear, number two, to invoke confusion, and number three, to put you under a curse. And then you go all the time trying to reverse the curse. And you become a dog chasing or the Oberus. I don't know. You pick your poison on that one. All right, so let me continue because we're not done here. So remember when we shared this, I think it's been a couple of weeks ago. So I think this is going, the reason why I'm bringing this back, because it brings this into motion, how it all fits together. We went in detailed on this planetary talisman. And in this thing, it was in the instructions for making a planetary talisman. Your sigil, when properly charged and properly placed, can in fact become an amulet or a talisman. Talisman, however you want to say it. You can incorporate this by using the sigil, the glyphs of the ancient angelic alphabet. Probably can use ET, I don't know. And as you can see, this is how you would actually do it. And we went over this. And I won't go over it again the second time. But any of you who want this, now here's the sigils. So these sigils invoke a number of those deities we saw outside of the supposed archangels. Now you can get good enough at this where you can actually freehand it, curse write it, whatever you want to do it. So anyway, now I wanted to get back to Agrippa because we've got enough time here to cover this. So, of the seals and characters of natural things, all stars have their peculiar nature, their properties and conditions. The seals and characters, see where I was getting to? Whereof they produce through their rays, even in these inferior things, in elements, in stones, in plants, in animals, and their members, whence every natural thing receives from a harmonious disposition and from its star shining upon it some particular seal or character stamped upon it, which seal of character is the signator of that star or harmonious disposition containing in it a particular virtue, differing from other virtues of the same matter, both genetically, specifically, and numerically. Everything, therefore, has its character pressed upon it by its star for some particular effect. This is, anyway, especially by that star which does principally govern it. And these characters contain and retain in them the peculiar natures, virtues, and roots of their stars. Your gifting, your talents, your peculiarities that identify you, this is where this comes from. Or so Agrippa says. And produce the like operations upon other things on which they are reflected, and stir up and help the influences of their stars, whether they be planets or fixed stars or figures or celestial signs, as often as they shall be made of in a fit manner, and in their due and accustomed times, which ancient wise men considering, such as labored much in the finding out of the occult properties of things, did sit down in writings the images of the stars, their figures, seals, marks, characters, such as nature herself did, described by the rays of the stars in these inferior bodies, some in stones, some in plants and joints and knots or borals, and some in the diver members of animals. For they, for the bay tree, the lote tree, the marigold are solitary plants, and in their roots and knots being cut off show the characters of the sun. So also in the bones and the shoulder blades of animals, whence there arose a spectacular kind of divining by the shoulder blades. Never even heard of this. And in the stones and the stony things of the characters and images of celestial things are often found. But seeing that in so great a diversity of things, there is not a traditional knowledge, only in a few things, which human understanding is able to reach. Therefore, leaving those things which are to be found out in plants and stones and other things, as also in the members of divers animals, we shall limit ourselves to man's nature only, which seeing it is the most complete image of the whole universe, containing in itself the whole heavenly harmony, will, without all doubt, abundantly afford us the seals and characters of all the stars and celestial influences. Now, time is running out, so check these out. Look familiar? Yep. Kid you not. Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus. So, all ties together. All of it. Powerful stuff, folks. Hold on a second. I have to get my puppy dog. Hold on one second. Okay. There's a big storm outside. So I'm going to cut this off. And tonight I'm going to be over on Chris's channel, Forbidden Knowledge. I think it's 9:30 his time, Central Time. And tomorrow we're going to pick up. Folks, this is powerful stuff. It really is. Much love to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making this community what it is. I much appreciate you. I adore you. You're all beautiful spirits. All right. I will see you later on. All right. Bye-bye.